Pues aquí seguimos en Alex Comunica, ahora mismo las 5.
Well, we are here again in Alex Communica. At this moment, it's 5:50 minutes. We have the great fortune to have with us an excellent popularizer and researcher of the UFO phenomenon, extraterrestrial phenomenon, and contact with alien life, extraterrestrial life. We are talking about Pier Giorgio Correa, who joins us here live on Alex Communica. Welcome, Pierre.
Alex,
Benvenuto.
muy feliz de estar con ustedes y con el público de España, que amo muchísimo.
Hello, Alex. I'm very happy to be with you and with the Spanish audience, whom I love very much. I've been going to Spain for years and I have many friends there who are passionate about this topic. And on my YouTube channel, by the way, I already have several conferences in Spanish, so that also the Spanish people can follow my topics, which are those that you know: crop circles, aliens, UFOs, declassification, which would be the topic we will talk about today. Because people say, no, those in power don't say. Those in power keep silent. They hide everything. But things are happening, Alex. Things that are really important. Really strange historical facts that perhaps people in Europe know little about. Because all this material is in English and not everyone understands and speaks it. So I have prepared several sessions, several clips that are all in Spanish, and they are all important, official testimonies, let's say, of facts that are happening in the United States. Let's say in various fields and in truth, starting from the month of January. There was the great wave of these drones, which were not drones. I mean, they were drones, but extraterrestrial. And we have a lot of material. Look, Alex, there was a mayor who saw with his own eyes and recorded with his mobile the ships of light that transformed into mechanical drones. Incredible. Really, the material.
There are photos, there are videos, so you can't deny the evidence. Let's go see it.
From a mayor, but I don't have the video here. Maybe in another broadcast we will present it. Today I have prepared this official material because it is really important. So the audience also from Spain can realize that things are happening, facts on the topic of UFO extraterrestrial declassification that are really extraordinary. It all began, I think you know, with the article published in the New York Times on December 28, 2017, where this newspaper revealed that there was a secret program led by the Pentagon that until that moment had always denied being interested in spaceships because they were nonsense, they were fantasies, things for drunks people. And it emerged in this article that, I repeat, the Pentagon had a secret program led by a CIA man named Luis Elizondo, focused on the phenomenon of spaceships. They started by saying that the program had been closed, but after a few months, the same New York Times said that in reality the program was still ongoing. From there was a whole series of, because the Pentagon gave freedom to the military, both in service and retired, who had had direct experiences in the extraterrestrial UFO field that now, you know, they call UAP, and practically allowed them to be able to give their testimony publicly with the television media, newspapers, etc. And from there, a whole situation started that reached the American Congress, where open meetings were held with these military personnel, where one in particular testified. There are several, but one in particular, the witness, whose name is David Grush, states that practically the United States government has spaceships that have already been recovered for dozens of years, and also alien bodies, and that there are major North American companies such as Raytheon or others that are companies of the North American military-industrial complex that, thanks to these spaceships, undertake a reverse engineering work. From there, Donald Trump has also been involved in the matter. And Trump has a son who has his same name, is Donald Trump Jr., who is very much committed to, very passionate about the UFO theme, and also has a channel on the social media Rumble, where Donald Trump Jr. has published an interview with his father, where he asks him about the extraterrestrial theme, particularly about Roswell. And Donald Trump says that he knows, but he can't say what he knows. Later, this son of Donald Trump was interviewed by the investigative television journalist Ross Coulthard, who works in the United States, but is Australian. And this journalist interviewed Donald Trump Jr., and the journalist tells him, "You can help us to convince your father, who is now president, to say something about spaceships, about UFOs." And Donald Trump Jr., Alex, answers him, "I'm working on it." And then we arrive at February 11th of this year, when there was an exclusive premiere, and this is the first clip that I send you. Can I, yes?
Yes, go ahead, whenever you want.
Okay.
Thank you all for being here. Today is a great day for transparency in America, because today I'm proud to announce the creation of the Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets. This task force will be a part of the House Oversight Committee and led by the very talented and persistent Congresswoman from Florida, Anna Paulina Luna. During her time on the Oversight Committee, Representative Luna is a sledgehammer against government secrecy. She is committed to throwing open the windows for the American people to allow the sunlight of truth shine on the federal government. I can think of no better person in Congress to lead this task force than Representative Luna. Last month, President Trump signed an executive order to begin the process to declassify information on the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and MLK. This task force serves to build on President Trump's actions. For far too long, the American people have had reasonable questions of what their government, which they fund every day, keeps hidden about certain issues. And for far too long, the federal government has not answered these questions. This creates distrust in our institutions. That ends today.
It is with profound honor that I have been entrusted by Speaker Mike Johnson and Chairman James Comer to lead the House Oversight Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets. Together with the help of the White House, our intelligence allies, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, we will be conducting investigations into the following: the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and Dr. Martin Luther King, unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UAPs, unidentified submerged objects, also known as USOs, the Epstein client list, the origins of COVID-19, and the 9/11 files. This task force will be a beacon of bipartisanship. On the Republican side, Representatives Burchett, Boebert, Burleson, Crane, Gill, and Mace will be joining me, although I'd like to note that I'm expanding this to the entire governing body and will be allowing certain members to waive on. This will no longer be a task force that makes bold promises only to fade into irrelevance or send strongly worded letters. This will be a relentless pursuit of truth and transparency, and we will not stop until the American people have the answers they deserve. We will cut through the bureaucracy, challenge the stonewalling, and ensure that the American people finally get the truth that they have been denied for too long.
What do you think, Alex?
It's clear, Pierre, that declassification is finally happening. Or rather, this declassification process, it has already started a while ago, Pierre. But on the other hand, there is a certain skepticism. But in the end, I hope that the truth is finally revealed.
It's an official committee of the United States House of Representatives. This was an official event. that is, at the political level they have committed, and Paulina Luna, this beautiful woman who is very aggressive, especially about the UFO topic, and there are interviews where she declares that she is fully convinced that we are visited by beings from other worlds. Not only that they exist, but that they are here, but that they are also among us, and this is of utmost importance. That is, things are changing among the new ruling classes of the greatest military power in the world. Facts are happening that are perhaps science fiction. So I have been deeply involved in the extraterrestrial phenomenon for more than 35 years. Today I am 66 years old. And then, what I hear from these people seems like a dream to me, a science fiction movie, but it's true. So, this tells me that what Donald Trump's son is doing is positive work that has achieved a truly incredible result until a few years before. It seems impressive to me. At the same time, other facts are happening that are important that I will show you because in the month of January, a trailer came out. About a series of documentaries planned by this director, who is passionate about the UFO theme. And it's an impressive documentary because within this work, Mr. Dan Farah, who is the director and producer of this work, practically interviews very high-level personnel, Alex. Politicians, former intelligence officials, former or still belonging to the CIA, people from NASA, people from the military Navy. And this documentary is titled The Age of Declassification. And really, the personalities speaking within this documentary are of the highest level. There is also Marco Rubio, and then we will hear a previous statement of his. This politician is now the American Secretary of State. These characters are interested in spaceships and want the truth to come out. To come out of that dark cave where until today, the powerful of this world have kept it. In particular, the Pentagon, which clearly obeys powers that are above military power. And I will show you this trailer and all the people that we will see in this trailer are people of the highest level. People who have worked at the highest level, within the North American administration, within the major organizations of the military-industrial complex. We also have Mike Gold, who has also been a director of NASA. In short, truly extraordinary people. Let's see this trailer.
The American people are ready to receive the truth.
Humanity is not the only intelligence in the universe.
Humanity is not the only intelligent species.
We are absolutely not alone.
Non-human intelligence exists.
UAPs are real, they're here, and they're not human. I spent 25 years as a senior official with the CIA.
I worked on highly classified UAP programs.
28 years as an astrophysicist.
I served as the 4th Director of National Intelligence.
Director of Aviation Security in the National Security Council.
A one-star admiral after 32 years of service.
People that come forward with this, I feel like they've taken their life in their own hands.
I was recruited to a highly sensitive government program that investigated unidentified aerial phenomenon.
For over 16 years, on behalf of the U.S. government, I worked as a senior intelligence official on the unidentified aerial phenomenon topic.
We learned that the U.S. government was involved in a long-running secret war with other nations to collect and reverse engineer vehicles not made by humans.
I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
Just look at that thing. It's rotating. There's a whole fleet of them.
The first country that cracks the code on this technology will be the leader for years to come.
China has established its own version of a UAP task force.
You think for a second that they wouldn't consider using it to achieve their ends of domination?
This is similar to the Manhattan Project. This is the atomic weapon on steroids.
This is so secret, very, very few people in our entire government have been allowed access to it.
Even presidents have been operating on a need-to-know basis, but that begins to ramp out of control.
It's not acceptable to have secret parts of government that no one ever sees.
You better be careful about a government that doesn't trust its people, because there's no telling what they'll pull on you.
This is the biggest discovery in human history.
You had information being locked away that could change the trajectory for species.
It has so many beneficial impacts, including clean energy.
We should have disclosure today. We should have disclosure tomorrow. The time has come.
What else you want to know?
Este señor Alex era el último que habló.
This gentleman, Alex, the last one who was speaking, is Luis Elizondo, who was the said director of the secret program of the United States. It seems to me that really, Alex, I don't know what you think, that these are impressive historical statements. That is, in my opinion, we are living in a time that in the future will be seen as a time that we are pioneers of something that will totally change the history of humanity. Because you will realize, and I hope that the public realizes, that contact with more evolved beings from other worlds means for us an occasion, an opportunity. Incredible, fantastic, perhaps to solve the very serious environmental problems in social policy, in the military field with wars, that we must overcome all this and arrive at a life, a society, a humanity totally different from what we have known for thousands of years.
Look, they were saying it here, right? Information that can change the trajectory of the species. Clean energy. And presumably extraterrestrial technology that can be made available to the world to make it more free, more just, or perhaps something worse, I don't know. There is also a lot of panic with all this information.
Certainly, Alex. I agree with you. But this mainly depends on us, on the people, on how they react to this information. Because still the majority of people think that these are jokes, things for crazy people, because this information is not known to the masses. At this moment, there are not many. Look, in the United States, there is a lot of talk about it. There are YouTubers like Joe Rogan, who have millions of subscribers, who talks about it continuously. The famous television channel Fox News talks about it a lot. A lot. There are people like Ross Coulthard, who doesn't miss a thing. This investigative journalist, perhaps he is the Jaime Maussan of the United States, he doesn't miss a thing. Nothing at all. And he is like a hammer. And then I will present to you another extraordinary result that Ross Coulthard has achieved because he interviewed a former military man who is outside the official military declassification program of the government because he had, as part of his mission of recovering extraterrestrial ships, a very particular experience while he was recovering one of these ships. We will see it later because he explains it with his own words. We saw Marco Rubio in the trailer, the American Secretary of State, and we will see a statement in which he talks about revealing facts. And it is interesting what Marco Rubio, a high-level American political figure, It is interesting to hear what he says.
All I've said is we have people that have very high clearances, both today and in the past, who did really important work for our government or continue to do important work for the government, who have come forward with some claims about the U.S. having in the past recovered exotic materials and then reverse engineered those materials to make advances in our own defenses and technologies. That's the claim they make. Now, I don't know if those claims are true or not. What I do know is that one of two things is happening here. Either they're telling the truth, and that is something that obviously would be the biggest story in human history, or we have people in really important positions of government who are crazy.
No creo que sean locas. Y también el mismo Marco Rubio dice que
I don't think they are crazy, and even Marco Rubio himself says that it is a fact that would be very important for humanity. And to have politicians of this level who talk this way about the extraterrestrial theme, it is something that in our old decrepit Europe is impossible, because no one talks in this way about a topic that they themselves still think they are crazy.
But it must also be said, Pierre, that at this moment there is a lot of talk about this topic, because they simply want to create a sort of smokescreen, so that other topics are not talked about, or to mislead, to disinform, on the most authentic version of the truth about the extraterrestrial visit, right, of their existence.
Yes, of course. But the point, in my opinion, Alex, is that this force is here. So, whatever the form, perhaps, of deception that these people are spreading to create, as you said, a smokescreen, a deception, a manipulation, but they are here. What happened in the United States from the beginning of November to early January of this year is crazy. They have stopped crucial military bases. That is, they have violated the airspace of very high-level military bases, also of atomic bases, these drones that are UFOs. So there is a power on Earth that when it wants to, does what it wants, and no one can stop it. So, in my opinion, yes, it can be. I agree that perhaps inside there is the Blue Beam Project or a deception, but they are here. And we know that they, not only from 1945, that they have been working for the control of the nuclear military weapon. And this is testified by many military personnel. As I took part in an international congress that was held there, I met again in Spain, in Barcelona, a former military man, the retired military man, Robert Salas, and he in 1967 at the Malmstrom base in Montana, a military atomic base, had the base paralyzed all night by a UFO that was a few meters above the base. The UFO blocked all the nuclear missiles that were inside the base. Technically, Robert Salas explained to me that it was the impossible scenario because the technology behind the cables that control missiles launches is so strong because they are built to withstand the enormous magnetic field generated by a nearby nuclear explosion. And all the missiles were blocked. This military man explains, through the many interviews, this military man has also been interviewed by the North American government within all the research they are doing for declassification. He states that they needed an entire day to put back into operation, let's say, all the missiles. And there are many of these testimonies. So, this power is here. I repeat, not only to monitor the nuclear arsenal that may be the most dangerous, or is the most dangerous, for the survival of humanity, but they are preparing a contact. I was able to meet her personally, interview her, Laura Eisenhower, who is Eisenhower's, I don't know how to say it in Spanish, great-granddaughter, and she told me, we all know in our family that the former president, our relative, has had contacts with extraterrestrial beings, And today, we know that in the contact, the beings proposed to the president to prepare the nation for an open encounter, and the president answered that he did not have this power, and they were not ready for this meeting. But the beings responded to the president, "Listen, President, we give you 50 years to change your mind." It was 1954. Starting from the end of this period, we will make the decision to land without asking permission to anyone. This period ends in 2004, and starting from this date, the number, the intensity of the sightings has grown, has increased in a really incredible way. So we are within a contact project also for them. Whatever men decide to do, they are preparing the contact. And then, we who are researchers and disseminators must help, work for this, because maybe, I think so, it is the only possibility we have to overcome our crises that are terrible. Now there is a war between Russia and Ukraine, but we know, Alex, that behind Ukraine there is NATO. Because all of Europe, the United States, Australia, etc., give weapons, give money to Zelensky, and Ukraine only puts the cannon fodder, but the force that pushes the Ukrainians. And there was a coup d'etat in 2014 when some important facts happened. It was a coup d'etat that brought down the government of Yanukovych. And behind this, there was the American government. It was also said by Victoria Nuland, who at that time was the Secretary of State. And a telephone call with another American politician was recorded, in which Victoria Nuland states that $5 billion had been invested in order to change the Ukrainian government and to put a president who is Zelensky, who is manipulated by the Americans and also by the English, who have always been the enemies of Russia and want to destroy it to take possession of the enormous resources that Russia possesses. But they have lost the war. We have lost the war. And now here in Europe we are launching a crazy arms race worth 800 billion euros. We have lost the war with all of NATO, Europe, and all of NATO. Now only Europe wants to face Russia. Are we crazy? Russia is a nuclear power. It has 6,000 missiles. With a technology like that of the Oryezhnik, that perhaps we will not be able to have in 20 years. And where are we going? So, all this, in my opinion, is just a matter of money. To take it out of our pockets and put it in the pockets of the military weapons industry, which is in the hands of the true masters of our nations, which are slaves to this occult power. This is my opinion. So the people must become aware of all this, and the beings are watching. There have also been several sightings in the skies of Ukraine recorded directly by the Ukrainian military.
Of course, the point is, Pierre, it is true that sightings are increasing recently. There are even governments that no longer hide anything, but rather admit, they at least admit, that there are unidentified flying objects, however they are called, and that they are there, right? And that they are not driven by people. The question is, what are these spaceships doing here? Why did they come to our planet? Why are they now showing themselves like never before, Pierre?
Se muestran más que nunca, Pierre.
Ahora se muestran más que nunca, Alex, porque
You see, they show themselves like never before, Alex, because the world crisis is getting worse. It's getting worse at the environmental level. It's getting worse at the level of social justice. The rich are growing in number, more and more. with amounts of money that perhaps they won't even spend in 1,000 lives. And the poor increase. They increase in Italy. We have, I think, more than 5 million poor in these last years, due to the pandemic, due to social injustice, due to the madness of this government that is still with this strange woman. Who is Meloni, who before being elected seemed like a tiger that would bite the powerful in the neck? Now she seems like a kitten that purrs with Biden, with everyone, with Zelensky. It's horrible this for a citizen who sees his prime minister behave like this. She has accepted and has signed the European Pact for this further investment in weapons, just like that, without doing anything to help her people. Here we have enormous problems in healthcare, in schools, on the roads. Italian industry is collapsing because we have cut the vein that brought blood to Europe. And the vein was the gas that we bought at low price from Russia. Now we pay 3 or 4 times more for gas coming from the United States or from other places. Crazy. So, in this situation, the sightings increase because the crisis increases, international tensions. An alternative power has emerged, that of the BRICS, that stand against the old Western power. The south of the world is rising. Africa has kicked France in the butt. So we are experiencing facts that have not happened for centuries. This was said by Xi Jinping in one of the last visits to Russia, greeting President Putin. Told him, "Look, friend, things are happening that not even in 100 years have happened." So we are living in a time that is extraordinary on the one hand, for those who want to understand it, but also very dangerous. And then these forces, some say they are negative, they want to invade us. But what are they doing? They are waiting for us to be armed with more modern weapons to invade us. And we know that they have been here for centuries, Alex. We also have engravings in the caves of France, Neo or Pechmerel. We have engravings that represent UFOs. These are engravings that are 15,000, 17,000 years old. So, what are we talking about? The extraterrestrial theme is an issue that has always accompanied humanity. So, today they are here because we are so crazy that we have put at risk the survival not only of us humans, but also that of all plant and animal life that is on the planet. And they do not want this because we must also understand that planet Earth is not in an isolated place in nothingness. Planet Earth is within a system, the solar system. The solar system is within a galactic system. And then, if the planet explodes, chaos is created at cosmic level. And then, assuming that they are indifferent to us, but this, if the planet explodes with about 20,000 atomic weapons that we have, in a total nuclear war, it is a problem also for them. We will pollute the entire solar system. So, at least in this sense, I think they want to monitor and intervene. But we are still free, Alex. Such a great power, if it really wanted to enslave us, would have already done it before. And we are here. We speak freely. The crazy ones are not them. The cruel ones are not them. Here we must be afraid of the one who is next to us. Our neighbor, our president, our prime minister, our king. These are the enemies of the people. They always have been.
There are no bad aliens then?
No. Hay alien malos. Absolutamente sí.
No, there are bad aliens. Absolutely, yes. But look, think for a moment, Alex, that we are the aliens. and a hypothetical Martian looks at terrestrial society. What do you think that this Martian might think, looking at what happens in our society? We rape children. We rape women. We destroy resources while billions and billions of people die of hunger. We are destroying our planet. Our only God is money. We are cruel. We are indifferent. The powerful are at best corrupt. In the worst case, they are also... when one is sexually extreme, now I'm missing the word, depraved.
Sexually depraved.
They are sexually depraved. We know that there is a ritual pedophilia within the highest power system, which cannot be talked about. A film was made talking about pedophilia, not that of high level, of a pedophilia perhaps of a slightly lower level.
Mel Gibson, right? He made the film with
the actor Caviezel.
Sounds of Freedom.
Exactly. And he had great difficulty distributing this film, and this means that those in power do not like this topic to be talked about, because we know that they are corrupt, and they are, I repeat,
depraved.
Depraved. Sorry, I am very tired. They are depraved. So, the question is, should I be afraid of an alien or of these people, Alex? We must be concrete, realistic. I see that in the history of human society. The enemy of man is man himself, not aliens. Yes, there are facts. They say that in some cases there have been injuries, perhaps one death. But here the deaths, every 3 seconds a child dies of hunger, every 3 seconds. And then we destroy in crazy wars just for the sake of power. We destroy a huge quantity of resources. As the whole NATO, the entire Western system, has destroyed in the war against Russia. We know that Putin until the very end tried to seek a diplomatic agreement. Stoltenberg also said this. Putin wanted an agreement so that NATO would not get closer to his borders, and we refused it. They say it themselves. They wanted to win at the military level against Russia. A madness. Putin said it before. Napoleon didn't make it. Not even Hitler, who attacked Russia, I think, with 2 to 3 million military personnel. And Russia paid with more than 30 million dead. But in the end it won. So, in my opinion, this war continues, and it is information from the last few hours, Alex. The CIA has declassified some documents that state that it is not true that Hitler killed himself and his body was burned in the Berlin bunker. These documents say that Hitler was taken by the Americans and the English towards Latin America, particularly Argentina, along with many dozens of high Nazi officials and military personnel. Here in Italy, there is a journalist named Franco Fracassi, and he has published some books where he has shown documents because Fracassi has many friends in Russia and has looked for these documents. And we know that this entire Nazi hierarchy was incorporated within the entire Western system. It is well known that the first head of NASA who took us to the moon, Wernher von Braun, who is the designer of the old V2s, which were the missile bombs, with which he killed a lot of people in London. A Nazi criminal who was put at the top of NASA. And they also put Nazis at the top of NATO. So the war between Russia and the Nazis did not stop with World War II. It has continued underground over the years, and now is coming to light again. We see people like von der Leyen. In my opinion, she is a Nazi. Here we have a fascist government. Meloni is a fascist. And some of her ministers are people who used to beat people in the streets. So, the same situation that led us to the First and Second World Wars is being created again. The same. That is, history teaches us nothing.
Do you think, Pierre, that we are facing a pre-war era? A third world war?
Look, last weekend there was a public protest in the streets of Rome. 100,000 people participated. And it was called by a politician named Conte. Perhaps you know him, Giuseppe Conte, who is now the head of the party that was Beppe Grillo's, the Five-Star Party. Conte called it because he represents the only force, the only politician who speaks clearly here in Italy against the arms race. Because he says our people need schools, they need work, they need hospitals. So I am against it. And he is the only Italian politician who speaks out against and takes a position against the genocide that is taking place in Gaza. So something is happening, and a very famous historian here in Italy also participated in this protest with 100,000 people. His name is Barbero, who has millions of views on YouTube. Carlo Barbero. He states, "We are exactly in the same political social situation, also at the media level, that occurred shortly before the First World War. This is the risk." Alessandro Barbero. So, it is not the opinion of the crazy UFO researcher Pier Giorgio Caria. It is said by very high-level personalities here in Italy. We are risking a third world war because the politician Conte says, if I want peace, I must not invest in weapons. I must develop a diplomatic policy, make an agreement with my supposed enemy. If I intend to invest in weapons, I am preparing for war. Sooner or later, I will use them. It seems logical to me. If I must live in peace, I must prepare for peace. If I am preparing for war, I will live war. Alex, I can tell you, look Alex, I love you, you are my friend, you are a good person, but you see me putting a dagger under my jacket, here a gun, then I put on boxing gloves. What do you think? That I am telling the truth or that I am preparing to kill you? Or at least to beat you?
The reality is evident.
So, to prepare for peace, we must talk about peace. To prepare for peace, we must, as the North American Indians did, bury, what is it called? The hatchet of war. Now, I don't remember how to say it in Spanish. We must, when we
bury the hatchet of war,
when we shake hands, it is to see that there is no weapon. So, if I have a gun in my hands, the hatchet of war, the production team tells me here. So, if we want peace, we must prepare for peace. If we want peace, we must say words of peace, not words of war and actions of war. This seems to me the minimum of human logic and discernment. But we know that politicians pursue objectives that are not their own. They are the ones of a power behind them, which is a power which is the power of money. The American war industry has earned a lot of money from the war against Russia.
Pierre, thank you very much for participating in Alex Communicate. We will continue on your channel. Remember, if you want to follow all the work, the research of Pierre Giorgio, you just have to go to YouTube for Pierre Giorgio Caria 59, as you have written there. Pierre, thank you very much. Take care of yourself.
Thank you very much to you, Alex. A real pleasure. We are in contact. A greeting to my Spanish friends. Goodbye.